why I love Delta Climate Theater. So I'm so excited, not only that you guys are all here tonight, but that I get to introduce Christian Book tonight. But at the same time, I'm conflicted, because any of you who actually need an introduction, what you need to know is not the details of the books, but please hold on to your hats, because they could go flying. Things are going to get wild in here, perhaps. As an introduction, Christian Book is a poet from Canada. He's engaged in radical experiments with language. He's the author of Pataphysics, the Poetics of an Imaginary Science, and 2 books of poetry, Crystallography from 1994, which was nominated for the Gerald Lampard Award, and Eunoia, which, by the way, is the shortest word, which contains all 5 vowels, from 2001, which won the 2002 Griffin Poetry Prize. He also edited the anthology of Canadian fiction called Groundworks, Avant-Garde Critique. While Book holds himself to rigorous standards of innovation that require each project involve a completely different skill set to be developed, I think what we can say is that his work is very invested in investigating language at the intersections between mathematics, science, and poetry, and that it inquires into the ways that these fields of study might develop and inform one another. In addition to Book's essay on robopoetics, which envisions a future in which computers write the poems and poets encode the programs used by the computer. Wow. Perhaps the most jaw-dropping of his experiments is actually his most recent project, which is the Xenotext experiment. This project involves translating a poem into a 4-letter alphabet, each letter of which stands for one of the amino acids, which is a part of DNA. This DNA, the chemical alphabet, is then implanted into bacteria. In this way, the poem will continue, and I quote, to transmit messages across stellar distances or even epochal intervals, so that unlike any other cultural artifact so far produced, except perhaps the Pioneer probes or the Voyager probes, such a poem stored inside the genome of a bacteria might conceivably outlast terrestrial civilization itself, persisting like a secret message in a bottle flung at random into a giant ocean. Like I said, an intro can give you some information, but it won't hold onto your hat for you. So please join me in welcoming Christian Book.
Language is a virus from outer space. Language is a pursuer of covert aims. Language frames our virus as poetic. Language tapers our vicious frames. Language for us some is a corrupt sieve. Language for us promises a curative. Well, that poem is an anagrammatic text derived, of course, from the famous quote, language is a virus from outer space, by the writer William S. Burroughs. I'm going to read to you this evening from my long work in progress entitled The Xenotext. I've been working for the last 12 years on an absolutely insane project. I'm going to read to you some of the subsidiary poems that provide structural support for the core of this work. This next series of very short poems is derived entirely from the molecular structure of the nucleotides that make up DNA sequences. DNA consists primarily of 4 molecules, adenine, cytosine, guanine, and thymine, represented by the letters A, C, G, and T. And in effect, the word choices and their arrangement within these individual poems is entirely derivable from the molecular structure of each of these molecules. So I'm going to read to you each of these poems entitled The Nucleobases, which goes so far as to include the one nucleobase from RNA, uracil. A. Nurturant creatures, honeybees, nursemaid, collected chemicals, cocooning, nectarous honeydews, heartsome narcotics, cunningly harvested, numbingly hypnoidal. C. Nymph-like honeybees cultivate orgiastic nunneries, chrysalid necropoli, heedfully husbanded cloisters, hereafter culturing helotries. G. Nefarious honeybees configure neotenous hothouses, hegemonic nurseries, confining castrated cagelings, oblivious nurslings, callously hive-bound, naturally homicidal. T. Neophytic honeybees construct obsessive nectaries, hexagonal complexes, orienting cloistral contessas, handmaids, howsoever hummingly condoning helotisms. U. Nymphical honeybees co-produce oversweet nepenthes, honeypots connoting ossuaries, crucibles heralding cathartic hymnities.